Mongoose Jake here with what is actually my very first game in the Vk75.01K. It's Tier 8 Premium German Heavy, and this one was actually gifted to me by a viewer of my wife's channel called Predloskin, and he actually just out of the blue gifted this thing to me because of course he knows I love German vehicles, and this is one that doesn't come around very often. And right away, we're going to get at the high points of this vehicle. I have this pulled up. These are from Tanks.gg versus an IS-3. As you can see, whether it's the turret, the side scraping, or the frontal hull plate, the armor's very good. And feel free to pause that and take a closer look. But also, combine that, the workable armor, with a hard-hitting 128mm gun. As you can see, I was, it is just a luck shot, but I was able to hit the EBR Hotchkiss for 528 damage. Now that's a high roll. This is a gun that averages 490 damage with 226 AP penetration and 262 on the APCR. That is a potent weapon, and it's on a tank that has, as you've seen, very good armor against same tier for sure, but also I believe the armor is going to be more than workable against tier 9s. Tier 10s will likely just shoot for your turret, and tier 10 is a premium spam fest, so that turret with an effective armor at the cheeks at 260 is not going to hold up as well as it would here at tier 8, and I do believe it'll hold up pretty well against tier 9s. The frontal hull is actually very strong. With a proper angle, you're looking at it, the upper plate having effectively around 300mm of armor. And side scraping, of course, this is always going to be very effective, no matter what the tier. The only thing is that under closer inspection, I have found that the lower half of the hull, this is alongside of the tracks, the lower half of the hull is actually weaker than the upper half. So something to keep in mind. And yes, the tracks act as spaced armor, but the lower half of the hull, under, say, improper angling, can be penetrated. Now, against tier 8s, you'd have to really over-angle. But the strength of this is its armor combined with a hard-hitting gun that actually has decent accuracy and good enough penetration. As you see, I carry twice as many AP rounds. And the 12 APCR, I mean, that's pretty good penetration at over 260. That'll be very effective against tier 10s and some very, very tough tier 9s. But I don't think you're going to need to rely on it at all. A little bit of aiming and the 226 is competitive against tier 8 tech tree heavies. Again, all those armor penetration diagrams I was showing you from Tanks.gg were against the IS-3, which has 225. So this has a little bit better penetration and quite a bit better damage. This is 490 versus the 390. So trades are going to be the order of the day with this thing. Using the armor to bounce a shot that you've baited and then hitting for almost 500. Outside of the German tank destroyers, this is one of the only ways you're going to get the 12.8 gun on a tier 8. Most heavies, especially from the German tech tree, run the 10.5, and this thing having, significantly larger gun is quite nice. This actually plays, the closest thing this plays to is the tier 9 Vk75.02B, and if you want to try that, basically it's that tank a tier lower, which is pretty powerful. I mean, it's not the exact same stats, but for effectiveness in the game, that's pretty much the closest thing you can get to try without having to actually pay the money. So, with that in mind, leading the charge is what should be done, and as you've seen in this game, this is absolutely what I've done. I haven't shot a bit of premium. I've taken some artillery damage, and the lurver was able to get a shot in, which isn't highly unsuspected because the accuracy of that gun that he has plus the penetration, he's able to find a weak spot and punch through. But he also took his time to carefully aim. You could tell just by his movements. But so far, between artillery and the one shot from the lurver, that's it. I've bounced everything else. And the artillery is getting very, very skittish at this point. That's why I'm going to draw all of their attention. But as soon as this STRV-81's gone, and the artillery knows, they're next. And when you push off the hill, don't try to push down the open area. Drop down where I did, and if you do that, all you have to do is clear out anybody who might be hanging around these rocks acting as a spotter and weather the storm from the artillery. But if you drop down there, the tank destroyers are basically nullified. They will not have those easy shots that they always rely on when people just drive down the hill. Slide down over the cliff. There are spots there, like you've seen me do, that won't cause any damage, and they won't even track you because you're not dropping off of a ledge. You're just sliding down a smooth ramp. But do that, and then get into the low ground here. Of course, I wasn't going to do this before eliminating the STRV-81, but once he's gone, it's literally a cruise in this low ground here. And now that our SP1C, who was getting ridiculed earlier in the game, he's doing some spotting, we can get rid of the charioteer, and then basically everybody else is going to be wedged into the northwest corner. I know that's where the Scorpion's going to be. He's going to be in the woods over there. The T-25/2 not being spotted means he's going to be over there as well. And the two artillery, of course, are going to be. This is basically full mop-up mode unless the team decides to go in one at a time and all die. But I'm here, and I'm going to get in a position. The one handicap of this vehicle is the top speed. It's not fast, but you wouldn't expect this tank to be. If it was also fast, it would be overpowered. So I'm sitting here knowing that there's going to be somebody there or right there. And unfortunately, I just clipped the back end of his track. And I obviously got spotted while doing that because here in just a second, I've noticed that the T-25/2 is looking at me. And then I take a hit from the Scorpion, who is now firing premium, which he shot me earlier with AP, so he's switched into premium firing for a last-ditch attempt to get some damage in. One artillery down, one artillery to go along with the Scorpion. It's pretty obvious this is a game that's in the bag, and I just simply don't want to die in my very first game in the VK, so I pull back, aim, and this 12.8 has a little bit lower velocity than some of the higher velocity guns, but that was just bad lead by me. It's almost the same gun from the Scorpion. It has a little less penetration, but I could have let it just a little bit more, and that would have been a nice icing on the cake for the very first game. Would have been nice to have that extra 500 damage, which I'm out of position to get to the last artillery, but it's a win. And I survived with over 4,100 damage. Also had a good amount blocked and spotted, which gave me an ace, as well as the Hand of God, the Bruiser, the Fire for Effect, and Shell Proof, along with Confederate and a high caliber. Little odd to get the Confederate with such a low rate of fire on the gun, but I was, of course, with the high caliber, top in damage and top in experience. As you see, I fired 14 shots, had 12 hit, 9 pen. Better aiming could have improved that even further, but made a bundle of credits, which is, of course, the point of a Tier 8 premium. But very first game, produced an ace, and I hope you enjoyed watching this. Thanks, and this is Mongoose Jake. Till next time.